Welcome to La Center InFocus. This is our weekly video for encouragement and to enrich and to explore some of the themes that we see in the scripture, especially as it relates to our message on Sunday, this coming Sunday.
Yes, indeed. And today we're going to be dealing with a natural tension that a lot of people have when it comes to living out their faith, especially when it comes to living out their faith around others.
Yes, we have a struggle because we all are influenced by what others think of us. And that's a natural tension that we have, and we really desire to please others. We want others to like us and to think that we are doing a good thing or whatever. And so we have this natural tension inside because sometimes that influence can lead us in a wrong or an unhealthy direction.
Exactly. And this is with everybody. If you want to dress well and try to present yourself well, often there's exterior motives. It's not just, well, I want to be appropriately dressed. It's because you want to look good. And so there's ulterior motives involved in a lot of things in our life. The problem is, well, God makes it clear that our motives are important.
Yes. But at the same time, we have been told, and you preached on this a couple weeks back, that we are the salt and we are the light of this world, and that our influence does make a difference. And so we are to be out there in this world, and people need to see what we're doing. So how do we deal with that? I mean, what is that the concept of salt and light?
Well, one of the first things is that we aren't to be closet Christians. We aren't to have like a holy huddle and kind of hide ourselves away from everybody else. But our faith does actually have to be on display, as the Gospel of Matthew indicates, especially in that passage where it says, "Let your light so shine among men to glorify the Father in heaven." And so our light needs to shine among men. Now, that creates a tension because later on we see that if we're too on display, or it appears, then our honor's only on earth.
Yes, and so we are that salt. We do, flavor our world around us. We do preserve our world. We are that light that dispels the darkness. I mean, that's all about what we are doing and why we want to be mixing it up in our community and being an active part of our community. But at the same time, if we do it because we want others to think that we are a good person or that we are righteous or we are holy, and that is our motive, then that's where Jesus has a problem with us.
Precisely. It's the idea that some people are doing these things because they are craving attention, which, if we hearken back to your passage last week, it all goes to the motivation of the heart. We were looking at the passages of how do you fulfill the law, or how do you basically live a godly life, and Jesus raised the standard on about everything and basically said it's not about actually fulfilling the dot and the T, it's about your heart. And so when it comes to living out our faith, it also ends up being a heart issue because...
Yeah, and he was saying, basically that he's all about that internal transformation that we are to have, and that we obey the law because of it's coming from the inside and not just an external obedience to some, rule or law at that point, or compliance. And then, we have the issue of that we all come short of that, because he says, that he equates adultery with lust, and we all struggle there at times. He talks about murder, and he says if you're angry, we all struggle with anger. And so we have this reality that we come short all the time, and we miss the mark. That's what sin is described as, missing the mark, coming short of God's glory.
Precisely. And so, in contrast to basically letting your light shine in the appropriate way, the inappropriate way is what the Pharisees were doing at the time of Christ's life. And basically, they were doing, all their motive was for honor on earth in different degrees. And that's primarily what we're going to be talking about this Sunday, right?
Yes, and of course, they were praying in the public, place, and they were praying for people to hear them. And that's a struggle that we all face at times, because even when we are, as pastors, preaching or praying or serving, we want people to respect that. I mean, that's a natural desire that we have. We want to be accepted for those things. And so they took it to an extreme. And, Jesus was saying, that's the only benefit that they got was what other people thought of them and compared to what God thought of it.
Exactly. And as humans, our motives are never 100% pure because we're not pure. And so a lot of it is trying to basically align our lives with Christ. And so when it comes to, when I preach, I hope to do well, partly because I'm called to be a teacher, and teaching means doing it well. And so I'm happy when it goes well, but then sometimes, you like, how did other people think about it? And so it's kind of making sure that your motive is always on basically serving what God has for you.
Yeah. So Jesus went through and he described several different areas that we can display our faith, and it could be a negative in terms of motive. One is the area of prayer. Another he talked about was fasting. The Pharisees at the time were showing off how much they were fasting, and he says, what value is that? Another is the area of giving. They made a big public display of the things that they give, and of course he confronted that. And he says, don't let your right hand know what your left hand is doing. But there's a balance there that I think we see in Scripture. And when you go to the story in Acts, you see that Barnabas sold a piece of property, and he brought those proceeds to the apostles, and he laid it at their feet, and they distributed it to those that had need, and he was recognized for that gift. It wasn't done in secret.
No, it wasn't.
So there is a place for, I guess you would say, a public knowledge of that. But the issue comes back to heart.
Exactly.
So following Barnabas, what was the negative side of that?
Well, the negative side is basically the Pharisees would, with pomp, basically show off, I am giving this much amount, so basically recognize me for honor me for how great a gift I gave. And so it was all about public display so that they can receive honor from men rather than God.
And of course, then we see that in Acts as well with Ananias and Sapphira, is they saw what Barnabas received in terms of the accolades and the public recognition for his gift. So they sold a piece of property, and they brought it to the apostles or to Peter, but they were holding some back, and they were pretending that they had given all, which they hadn't. Of course, they were confronted and died on the spot.
Exactly.
So there's the negative side again of the motive. They were wanting certain accolades or attention for their gift, and that is what is wrong. So anyway, that's kind of a balance, I think, because it's not wrong for us to give in a public setting, for others even to know about it, but Jesus said to avoid that, you can give in secret and then nobody knows, and it's just between you and the Lord and your heart, and that's where you want the benefit to come.
And to kind of cap it off, one of the things is we've been entrusted with the gospel, and as Paul basically speaks on it, so we speak not to please men, but to please God, who has tested our heart. So realizing when it comes to down to the final thing, is God is testing our heart and working through the deeds that we're doing. And so when you recognize that, it kind of should help shift your motives to trying to please God rather than men, especially on all these things.
Well, thank you for watching, and we hope to see you on Sunday.